Wow, that first reading from St. Paul to the Corinthians, he really let him have it. He didn't mince words. And it's important for us to read that. He might get canceled today if he were on air, but anyway, he let him have it. And the word that really gets my attention in the gospel is in the very last line. Because power came forth from him and healed them all. Power came forth from Jesus. Because Jesus is all-powerful. The technical term for that is omnipotent. Omni, all-potent power. He has all power. He's so powerful that he can control the weather. And we remember that from the gospel when he calmed the waves and the wind and the storm on the sea. The last time I celebrated this Mass for an end to storms, it wasn't actually called the Mass for an end to storms. It was called a Mass to avert storms. The last time was in 2005. And the current edition of the Roman Missal is from 2011, and they slightly changed the translation into English. It's called the Mass for an End to Storms. And I remember very clearly when I celebrated the Mass, it was in September of 2005 at Embers Elementary School, now called Embers Elementary Academy or Embers Academy, because a few weeks before, Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans. Remember that? And then just 1 month later, another hurricane was bearing down on that part of the country called Hurricane Rita. And when I arrived at Embers Elementary School that afternoon on Tuesday, I'm thinking, what can we do? What can we do? And I looked in the General Roman Missal and said, how about that? There's a Mass for that, for an end to storms. So I said to the youngsters, St. Josemaria says the prayers of children, the sick, virgins, and priests are really powerful. And the youngsters, they're nodding their head in agreement. Of course, we know that. We're kids. I said, so our prayer today, I want you to really focus, is we want Jesus to click and drag that storm out of the way so it doesn't go into Galveston or Houston or all the rest, so everybody's safe. And that's to avert the storm. So we prayed that Mass, and guess what? You never heard of Hurricane Rita because our Lord literally clicked it and dragged it out of the way. I remember calling a friend of mine from high school who worked for NASA, who was down in Galveston. I said, how are you guys doing? We're stuck in traffic. Everybody's trying to get out of the way, and now the traffic isn't moving. It was so bad, he turned around and went back home. But at the last minute, the storm moved out of the way. Now, what's really interesting is about a month or two ago, we had some guests here, and I was telling this story, and the woman who was there was a retired insurance executive. She said, no, I remember very clearly, because Hurricane Katrina almost took us out of business, and if Hurricane Rita hit there too, we would have gone out of business. And he said, and in the last moment, who knows why, the storm moved out of there. I said, I'll tell you why. Because the kids, the K3, 4 through 5th graders, prayed to Jesus that the storm would move. So I came back a week later and I congratulated the youngsters on the power of the prayers, and they're all nodding their head. Yeah, of course, we're kids. Our prayers are like really powerful. So it's an amazing thing. Amazing thing. We see that power of Jesus also with a woman with a hemorrhage. Remember that situation? She'd been hemorrhaging for 12 years. She'd used up all her resources with health care. And then she heard Jesus was coming and thought, if I could just touch the hem of his cloak, I will be cured. So she pushed her way through the storm, and she touched the hem of his cloak, and she was immediately cured. Jesus turned around and said, who touched me? Well, everybody's touched her. No, this was different. I felt power coming out of me. Power. Jesus has power. The power is in the Holy Eucharist. Last night, during the Family Rosary Cross in America, somebody, I forget the name, from down Louisiana called in and said, hey, we got to pray, for this storm not to hit us. I said, yeah, I think I saw something. He said, what is it? What's the name? Francine. Well, that's easier for me to remember, right? Francine. I said, well, we're going to pray that it doesn't do any damage, and we'll have a Mass for that, and we'll put our trust in our Lord and Our Lady of Fair Skies.